Gary. Right here, and just literally just do like this, like keep it in and then go like. Well, no, it'll be like Q&A, like keep it up here.
When Q&As.
Yeah, keep it up here. You have to, prophesize a little bit, but stay right here and use this as like. Use extra points of contact, so don't put your foot up against it. Yeah.
Good morning, good morning. Grab your coffee, head to your seats. Let's get started.
Oh, there's coconut. Coconut.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Excellent warm-up, good warm-up. Let's do it again. Good morning, how's everyone doing? Welcome to 1 Million Cups. I'm Kyle, I'm one of your community organizers. Thank you so much for braving the weather and joining us. Quick logistical note, we are on the Missouri side, so if you need sled dog parking, it is in the back. Thank you for West Platte for coming out. Did you guys have a snow day on Monday? Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you for spending your second day of the school week with us then. If you've been to 1 Million Cups before, let's ask that question. Raise your hand if this is your first time at 1 Million Cups. Excellent. Thanks for joining us. I'll tell you the format here real quick. We're going to have two entrepreneurs present about their business, about their journey. Then we're going to have our expert panelists ask some questions. And then you are going to get the chance to ask questions. So please listen closely. And when it comes time for those questions, you'll go over to this audience mic. If you've been to 1 Million Cups before, you knew all of that, but you see a lot of new faces up here. We have new community organizers. Yay! We moved here to Plexpod Westport Commons in August. We are so happy. We feel very much at home. And now we have a bigger family in our home. So I'm going to go ahead and let everyone introduce themselves, even if you do recognize some of these faces. They're going to tell you who they are, what they do in real life, and why they love 1 Million Cups. And we'll start right here.
Hey everybody, I'm Reverend Billy, and I'm an inventor, and I'm a community organizer with 1 Million Cups. I'm glad you're here.
Hello everyone, I'm Tyler Prince, and I'm a local entrepreneur. Why do I love? Is that really a question? Okay.
I love 1 Million Cups because Kyle, Tyler, Caitlin, and all these wonderful people are
Ditto.
My name is Caitlin Trotsky, and I do marketing for golf courses in Kansas City. And I love 1 Million Cups just to stay up to date on what's going on in Kansas City and all the networking and awesome people I've met.
I'm Chris Cooley, I'm with Venture 360, and I'm excited about 1 Million Cups. I've been in the startup space since 2007, and was at some of the very first ones, and to see this evolve as a community, and then see 1 Million Cups sort of become that front door to Kansas City's startup community has just been fantastic, so glad to be a part of it.
Hello, I am Abby. I am an assistant teacher at Parkwood Day School in Eudora, and I love 1 Million Cups because I've met so many cool people here. It's a good time.
Hey family, I'm Patricia McCrary with Margaret's Place. We're an adult recreation and wellness center where we breathe life back into the retired and disabled community. And I love 1 Million Cups because I've been on the stage and I've met some really cool people from it, and I'm excited to share some stuff with you guys. So, yeah.
I'm Joseph Johnson. I'm a business and entrepreneurial lawyer, and I like 1 Million Cups because of the environment and the warmth that the people provide.
My name is Matt Gansler. I'm the VP of Sales for Lumisoft, which is a custom software development company, as well as own a company that helps entrepreneurs learn how to sell. I love 1 Million Cups because this is kind of the beginning of where businesses start in Kansas City. I love to see the companies that have come through here and really gotten big and become really successful.
I'm Ryan Merrigan. I'm an attorney with Moeller Merrigan, and we are a business consulting law firm. I love 1 Million Cups because of all the ideas and energy that comes through.
Awesome. Can we give these guys a round of applause? All of our community organizers are volunteers. You see them here on Wednesday morning, but they spend hours every week giving back to Kansas City's entrepreneurial community by making 1 million cups happen. So thank you for letting us introduce ourselves. We have one more introduction before we get started, and that is our expert panelist today. Leslie, you mind saying hello?
Good morning. Like I said, my name is Leslie Walton. Many of you may have known me as a local resource for the past few years with KC SourceLink. I am now emerging as my own business. I've always been a serial entrepreneur with a sense of change, so I'll be a part of this startup community as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and congrats on taking your entrepreneurial journey the next step. All right, enough intro. Let's go ahead and get started. Can we have a very warm welcome today for our first presenter, Jake with Social Apex.
First, I wanted to thank the 1 Million Cups team for inviting us here today to share our entrepreneurial journey with you all. Funny enough, I see a lot of high school students out here, and actually 3 years ago, I was actually a high school student that always dreamed of being an entrepreneur, and one day getting to share my story on a stage like this, and today we'll do just that. So to start, the question that most people ask is, how exactly did we get here? Social Apex was originally founded by Sam Kulikov and Brandon Priest in early 2018. Later, I got connected with them with an agency of my own, Trendsetters Media. We merged and we went with their name because it had vowels in it. And a couple months ago, we merged with Excelli, a startup consulting company, and added Mark Josie to our team. So now we officially have a 4-person executive team. Now, the question that you're probably asking as well is, what is Social Apex? We like to say that Social Apex is an agency built for tomorrow, delivering growth through digital. We say this because today we are content creators, we are social media gurus, influencer marketers, growth strategists, SEO managers, all of that. But tomorrow we are augmented reality designers, AI developers, and as a long-going joke between the team and I goes, even dinosaur incubators. So the last one's a little far-fetched, but the whole premise is that we understand the digital mediums that are popular today and the culture around it, and that's where we base our internal organization around. But tomorrow, we understand the landscape is always changing, and so we change internally to meet that. So the way we're able to achieve this is with our incredible team. To start, Mark Josie is our CEO. He comes from a corporate background working as an executive at Sprint and Verizon, working on deals with Uber and American Airlines as well. He also hosts an MBA, so during the holiday season, I say instead of a college dropout, I work with an MBA, and that's kind of my excuse. I am our Chief Growth Officer in charge of our internal and external growth. I've been within the entrepreneurship team in Kansas City for a good deal of time. I have worked in marketing for several startups, as well as corporate companies like Cerner. Brandon Priest is our Chief Operating Officer, covers all of our operations and a lot of our internal execution. This is because I'm still convinced Brandon is a super genius. He might be an artificial intelligence robot because aside from being a full stack web developer, he's also our best videographer. So that right brain, left brain combination is really unheard of within marketing. Finally, Sam Kulikov, our Chief Experience Officer. Sam is able to connect brand, culture, and creative together and have it work cohesively, as well as show you exactly how something as simple as a font or a color connects to your bottom line revenue. Now that isn't our entire team. We actually have a team of 12, and like I mentioned before, that team exists of creatives, social media managers, SEO managers, growth strategists, and more. Now the premise of Social Apex and kind of what our core is within innovation, creativity, culture, and agility. Now this combination is unseen within the marketing world. Now a lot of people think that the marketing world is beautiful and it's a good place to be. In reality, we think differently. The digital landscape is a rapidly changing environment. We have new platforms coming out every week. The consumer mindset shifts every month. and it's hard for normal businesses to keep up with this. Second is agency failure. Agencies of record that rely on consistent just connections and relationships and recurring contracts are going extinct, frankly, and they're being crippled by their own internal innovation processes. Finally is consumer attention. I think any business owner can attest to this, that capturing consumer attention in today's market is harder than ever before. Now we combat this by being an agency built for tomorrow, however, living within the now. So to start, we are trendsetters. We're always on top of what's new and applying that to the business world. Second, we are an entrepreneurial agency, meaning we exist of entrepreneurs. Therefore, we work day and night to achieve your success. One of the lines I always tell our clients is that if we don't grow, or if you don't grow, we don't grow either. Finally, attention is the goal. At the end of the day, we are a data-driven agency, but the creative aspect comes into play as well, because at the end of the day, if you can't capture your consumers' attention, you won't convert them. Now here's what we call our growth channel, and this is kind of the model of IP thought leadership that we stick to time and time again. The first is content. So the question here is, how do we deliver content that actually captures attention? The second part is visibility. How do we get that content seen within the right mediums, within the right ad platforms? And then finally is conversion. How do we lead a CTA that actually converts to a bottom line revenue? Because at the end of the day, content is great, but if it just looks pretty and doesn't convert, it doesn't make financial sense to keep it. Now, Social Apex by the numbers, we've completed hundreds of projects. We have dozens of clients, 12 team members, 3 office locations, and we're actually hoping to get connected in Los Angeles in early 2019. Some of the companies we worked with, obviously we work with companies as large as Spirit Airlines and Garmin, but also startup companies in town like Playbook and Dixie, as well as in several different industries, even political, commercial real estate, fitness. So essentially what we've done is applied our core mindset and our core skill set and strategy to several different areas and seeing success throughout it all. Now this is just a few of our client testimonials. Our guys up top at Startland News at the floor above us. Mike Caffrey, the president of Caffrey & Co., and then James Lavoie, the president of Foreigner Lavoie. And that's all I have for you today. I will let you know after this, we're going to be heading over to FlexPod Westport and doing sort of a live Q&A / whiteboard / just kind of us spitballing some ideas at you for consumer brands heading into the holiday season and what they can do to react and apply some things, as well as businesses getting set for 2019, developing their marketing strategy, developing their marketing budget, as well as looking ahead to certain things coming up within the digital landscape. So thank you.
All right, thanks guys. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. First question, I guess I'll start with, and do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name is Sam Kulikov, so I'm the Chief Experience Officer. We were kind of deciding who was going to present today, and I think Jake did a fantastic job kind of bringing out the sentiments. So.
Very good. I guess my first question is, what does an ideal client look like for you?
That's actually a really great question. So we started a lot of this process beginning of the year, roughly, and we've had a lot of trial and error. Jake and all of us have kind of been doing our own thing before coming together. And one of the biggest things that we've understood as an ideal client is that there's a huge root in friendship, right? So in the relationship portion of it. So when we're really figuring out how to prospect and figuring out how to client manage, we're looking towards how can we build a better relationship to elicit better business. So our thought is that, okay, we've always been told time and time again, friendships and business don't mix. But we want to try and flip that and change that, because for us, when you find friendship in business, that takes away all the issues, and then the only thing standing in your way is logistics. And so from that point, it's about partnership and growing together and really creating an environment where you two are happy with each other and not just a give and take.
Great. Like you said, thank you for the presentation. As an entrepreneur, especially with the crowd that we have today, where there are a lot of younger entrepreneurs in the audience, I usually like to find out, like, what kind of inspired you or motivated you to start this company, especially at such a young age?
I've always just been in love with entrepreneurship and startups. And when I was actually like 17, I tried to develop like a homeless management software, and then I ended up pitching it to like the executives at the local United Way. So what really inspired me to get involved within it was just making the most of my skill set and talents. I always saw that I just see entrepreneurs and startup founders and the entire startup team really push themselves to the limit within that, and so you're able to grow and flourish within that. And although yes, there are struggles, I think that pressure makes diamonds, and I think that's definitely the case in the entrepreneurship community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a definite factor for me that's been because Jake is 19, but I'm 22, so besides Mark, I'm one of the only college grads on the team, I think. And for me, at the end of the day, I was trying to figure out how to take all the talk and make it real, right? So like as millennials, we're so passionate about, oh, I want to do this, oh, I have this idea, oh, I want to be here, oh, I want to be this person, and we encapsulate ourselves in this dream of something that we've never experienced. And then when we try and engage that reality, we forget what we're trying to accomplish because it becomes hard, right? So taking that talking element out of the picture for me was huge, because I always wanted to do great things, of course. Every millennial is so passionate and idealistic, but then making that a real, actual, applicable thing is so crucial, right? And I think that the transition really, as we've seen, is like, we don't talk about what we're gonna do, we just do, right? I don't tell Jake, or I don't tell them if I have some crazy idea until I can put it on paper, and I'm like, okay, this actually has merit, right? So that's been super huge for me, is being able to take dreams of mine and like ideas and bringing them out and putting them into paper and putting them into the real world.
So I saw a bunch of logos, and you've obviously a bunch of projects. You've done hundreds of projects. I'd love to hear maybe a use case of what was the problem, what solution did you provide, what did that look like?
Yeah, so we are a full stack agency, so it looks a lot different in every scenario. And sometimes a lot of times clients come to us and they say like, hey, here's a problem we have, or here's an idea we have, and want to implement it. Rather than answering to that, we take a step back and try to get to the root of not just the issue, but what is the actual goal? Are you looking to grow 20%, or are you just wanting to launch an ad campaign, just to launch an ad campaign? So I guess one scenario would be on the consumer side. If a consumer business comes to us and they just say, hey, look, we need more sales, and here's what we're currently doing, typically they want to just double down on what they're currently doing. Rather, what we say is, let's open up 5 what we call growth channels. So one growth channel may be social media and influencers within that, another may be social media and ad campaigns, another may be SEO and driving web traffic and then converting through that. Let's test all 3 of those at high frequency over a 90-day period, and by the end of it, we'll determine our CPC with the ads, our conversions with the SEO, and you'll be able to statistically know where you should be investing your money marketing-wise. So that's kind of a case example. As far as the execution goes, full stack, so we've done everything from like software and web development all the way down to like brand video production, and then in between is like the SEO, the digital marketing, the ad campaigns, and that. Does that answer it well? Okay, thanks.
All right.
We'll do one more question and then open for audience.
And I'm glad that you mentioned, what you all are doing with your companies. I am curious to know, like, what is your price point for the services that you offer?
Yeah, so our price point is very variable. We typically work within the range of $4,000 to $6,000 per month, and within a retainer. However, it depends, upon the campaign or upon the scope. We have clients that are above that. We have clients that are below that. It really just depends on the scope of the work, and we don't like to have, and we don't even have like an internal pricing sheet because we know that's not how it works. Like, hey, SEO is going to be different for every business, even if it's in the same industry, because their website might be built on this platform versus this one, all those different things. So we think it does them and ourselves an injustice by doing so. So we work on a case-by-case basis in terms of the budget typically.
All right, we have our first question from the audience.
Hi there. So, heard some lovely bios, which quite honestly I stopped paying attention to after the second one. But what really sets you guys apart? I didn't really hear anything that tells me why I, as a business owner, should pick you guys over any other marketing team out there.
Thank you. That's a good question. Sam, you want to take it? So, the biggest thing with us is the innovation, the creativity, and the agility within our product scope. Look, anyone within marketing is going to tell you they're the best at this. Oh, I'm the best at Amazon. Oh, I'm the best at SEO. I'm the best at whatever. Yes, data can tell you a little bit about that, but we have the same level of case studies that any other agency has. The difference is when you come and meet with us, and I think Dr. Hickman's here today from Playbook, who said it best. He's like, when I meet with you guys, it's kind of like talking with aliens because the ideas are so far-fetched seeming at first, but then he mentioned he goes back and talks to his son and then, oh, that makes perfect sense. So that's kind of the difference between us and the other agencies. We're going to tell you a lot of things you don't want to hear, not in a negative way, but in the sense of, oh, you probably haven't heard of this certain service. So that's where it is. And then within the agility, we can knock out in 1 month what would take a normal agency 3 to 6 months.
Hey guys, impressive list of companies you had there on that slide. So as an old guy, but thinking about all the young people here, a question that I have is how do you get people to believe that you're credible? And a related question there is how do you even get to be in front of these people? In other words, what gives you the ability to have people actually even decide to listen to you?
That's a really great question, and I'll probably speak for all the millennials in the room where when I say that we're often not heard, that's just because we like to talk. But I think that at the end of the day, it's a really, really important question in terms of the business model because it's, okay, you're these young, strapped, like I'm, 19, 22, we got 20, 21, and like just a really young team. So it's a matter of, like I said, leveraging the relationships and the friendships there. Business at high level is done no differently than is done at a low level. The only difference is that they're just hanging out where you're not hanging out. And they're just doing their deals away from you. But the point is that at the end of the day, when you embrace authenticity and you actually push towards the things that you care about, your passion as a millennial is incredibly invigorating to business owners. But you have to have something to back it up. Like, you can't just talk. If you can show even any work, like with Ormondale, when we approached him and his campaign, we didn't have a huge repertoire of work. And he's a bigger candidate and has got a lot of things going on. And Brandon and I approached him and said, look, we're looking to grow with you, to learn with you, and we want to make sure that we're trying to find ways that we can help you grow your business. And so a lot of that kind of is predicated on the fact that we were honest with people and they trusted us and they believed in us. And there were times when, we dropped the ball because we, are not the most incredibly experienced team, as you can tell from the age, but what we lack in experience, we bring up with in terms of, pride, being able to swallow our ego and swallow our pride, and understanding that every day can bring a new insight to build a business. So that's really what has put us in front of so many clients is saying, look, we're not perfect, but neither is any other agency. And so where our imperfections lie doesn't matter, because every single day we're going to be speaking with you on an honest level and opening up to you so that you understand what's truly going on and what we can actually do to benefit your bottom line.
Hi, I had a question about working within a crowded market, like being a marketing agency. There are tons of big agencies out there. Locally we have VML, and if you think about people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who are great content creators, creating content all the time, but also runs a very awesome digital agency with VaynerMedia. How do you work within that competitive space as a startup, and especially like you were saying, with a very young team that, even though you may have a lot of creativity and a lot of ideas, you do lack that number of years of experience that can sometimes make clients a little apprehensive?
Yeah, so and on the competition note, we actually love it. We think, yes, we love the competition aspect just because we're a naturally competitive team, but we don't think it's like VML and Barkley are not necessarily competitors of ours. We're not going to sign a six-figure contract with Big Gatorade next week. But yes, there is a lot of competition. So I guess where we typically see our strong suit is we practice what we preach. And so you mentioned like the Gary Vee model. You can check out my profile on LinkedIn. I'll average 10 to 25,000 views on every single post that I get, and that's because I believe in the model. And so when I go tell our clients, hey, you need to be doing your LinkedIn and lead gen and your SEO strategy, I can show them that I'm doing it myself. That's how much I believe in it. You can go check out all of our social media profiles and that'll tell you the same thing. So practicing what we preach is a big one, as well as being very entrepreneurial driven. So, me, Brandon, Sam, and a lot of our team members as well, all had businesses growing up, whether it was something as simple as a lawn care business or drop shipping business or e-commerce or whatever it is. We all knew how to connect an ad to a bottom line revenue source. And so I think a lot of the companies we work with, whether it's executives or even the marketing director, they can relate to that, where we're not looking at the vanity metrics and the KPIs and this got this many views and then therefore this is what it means for your brand engagement level or some BS number or big metric really. We're showing you how that directly connects to the bottom line, and I think that's where we find kind of our niche, I guess.
Hello guys, how you doing? And I use you guys, and I'm Dr. Hickman, CEO of Playbook. But I think one of the things that is not incredibly articulated is that you guys are each geniuses in your own rights in certain areas, and then you guys come together seriously to put together to really work with companies. But I think one of the things that separated you guys, because I shopped around to other companies, one is how you personalize, and I think that's something that you guys need to highlight, is that you really sit down with businesses and you're not offering a canned package that works for everyone in a general sense, that you really personalize your approach to the company, not only with the price structure, but also with what you're offering. And you also sit down and you listen to the customers, which I think is invaluable when you feel like you're just another number with other agencies and those kind of things. And as far as the agent experience is concerned, I think one of the things that you guys have to your advantage is that you're incredibly optimistic, where you're not really shaped and hardened by the things that we experienced in life. And so therefore, you believe that you can take our companies to wherever they want to go, and it's limitless. And that goes with your efforts. And when you do hit your heads on the wall, you don't see that as an obstacle to stop. You see it as an obstacle to get around. So just want to talk about your personalization. How do you guys feel about, you talked about relationships was important, but the constant communication and personalization, if you guys want to address that, I think would be great.
Yeah, so that is a big thing, and Sam has mentioned this as well, that it's very relationship driven, and that's because we could set out a campaign goal, or a business could come to us with a sheet of a to-do list, or here's our plans and here's our goals, but we know that the business environment's always changing. So, what if production has issues, and then therefore, what if development gets delayed, or what if an employee who was supposed to be doing all of the marketing now quits, so then therefore we have to fill in an internal marketing role, and then therefore what does that mean in terms of the external? So all of that combined, it is super relationship driven, and we like to work hand in hand with the business, where we're working on strategies together rather than keeping kind of a closed door in a sense of, okay, here's what I think you need. Now I'm going to go talk with my team. We're going to get back to you with a few proposals, and here's what that's going to look like, and then I'm going to base those proposals off of what's going to get us the most profits. That's what a normal agency would and probably should do. But Rally, what we see is we like to keep everything just on the table out there, super transparent, because we want to be honest with it and face the cold hard facts. Oh, if this campaign isn't doing well, let's shift to this growth channel, or so on. So I appreciate the kind words, Dr. Hickman. Thank you.
Really quickly, and I just wanted to make a note that for people like Dr. Hickman and our other clients, we look at everything as a partnership, and I think it's a perfect kind of way for us to end that out. For me, is to see it makes me so happy to know that, like with Dr. Hickman, just to know that he feels like he's been taken care of by our business. That is such an important feeling for me, that I can wake up and I'm like, wow, someone actually has bettered their business because of our efforts. And that's the most invaluable thing for me. So I really appreciate your sentiments.
All right, great job, guys. We just have one last question, and it is, what can we as a community do to help you?
I think we just want to meet as many people as we possibly can. The biggest thing is that anyone and everybody that wants to talk to us and has any questions or anything like that, please call us, text us, email us, hit us up on Instagram, talk to us in person. We're at Crossroads Plex Pod. Shout out to Eric Milner. And so yeah, we just really want to connect with everybody.
All right, good job, guys. This week, but we're going to start with our friends at Startland News and see what they have for us.
To introduce Kansas City to a gathering place for gamers is loading on Main Street. We really want to introduce Kansas City to the big esports brand, as well as how social it truly is. Set to open in mid-December, Local Legends Gaming Center will serve as a training site for esports enthusiasts eager to level up in the world of competitive gaming, says owner Abdul Rashid Yahaya. We want to provide an opportunity for them to truly shine. We're going to find individuals who are passionate and enabled to be as great as they possibly can be. A spin-off of Yahaya's popular mobile gaming concept, Local Legends could defeat common stereotypes through social gaming. We provide opportunity for 2 or more individuals to sit on a couch together and get to know each other, make friends off a liked, beloved experience, whether it's a retro game like 007 or something that's prepared to come out like Super Smash Bros. Creating a space for gamers to share their interest with each other is step 1 in Yahaya's greater community cause, creating a place that feels like home but isn't home, that they can come and hang out, kick their shoes off, and enjoy something great like video games. The entrepreneur plans to partner with local brands like Made Urban Apparel to host events showing young people fun can be had outside of clubs and bars. Reporting in Kansas City, Austin Barnes, Startland News.
Alright, so that was Startland News with our weekly update. Okay, so next we have Zach Pettit giving an announcement about Demo Day.
Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? So the next company that we have up actually is SavR. They're from Australia, and they're also part of Fountain City FinTech. Fountain City FinTech is Kansas City's first financial technology accelerator. Hey, Sean. How you doing, man? I haven't seen you in years. So we are hosting our first demo day. We've gotten through like 62 days of the program, and it's all going to culminate on December 13th. Victor Huang from the Kauffman Foundation is going to be doing the kind of opening keynote, and then 6 companies are going to present, and then open bar and party and wonderfulness of Kansas City entrepreneurship. So go to fountaincityfintech.com, and then there's a little banner on top that says RSVP and learn more. Click the learn more, and we'll see you on the 13th. And I'm excited to hear from Tim, so I'll get off the stage.
Okay, real quick, we're gonna do mug club. So raise your hand if you've been here 10 or more times. Okay, raise your hand, or put your hand down if you've already gotten a mug. Anyone? Do we have anyone?
I see a hand. Tell us your name and why you're here. Without a mic, I'll tell you my name and why I'm here. Thank you, Dad.
My name is David Dyer. I'm a sales and marketing consultant, and I enjoy being at 1 Million Cups because it gives me the opportunity to learn business tips that aren't already in a book.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next presenter. Please welcome Tim with SavR.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming on in. You can probably tell by my accent that I am not a local Kansas Cityan. So I'll kick off by giving you a little bit more of my own background and our journey as to why we're here talking to you today. I'm what you might call a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company when I was 17 and studying at university. And since then I've gone on to found several other companies in the personal finance, mortgage lending space, and also the real estate investment industry. For the last 15 years, my career has centered around being a specialist personal finance and investment advisor. And what that means is that I've spent tens of thousands of hours sitting with my clients, trying to work on strategies that help them improve their personal finances. During that time, and about 18 months ago, I came to the realization that what I really enjoyed most about what I did was my ability to help people. And it was not longer after I came to that realization that I had the idea for SavR. So, not coming from a technical background, I didn't really have much of an idea of how to make that a reality. So I started learning as much as I could, speaking to as many friends and family and pretty much anybody that I could get access to try and understand what was needed to bring an app into the world. After consulting with one of the top app development companies in Australia, what I did learn was that I needed a whole bunch of skills and a whole load of money that I didn't have, and so I had to kind of get a little bit creative about how to continue this journey. I ended up reconnecting with a friend of mine that I've known since I was about 14 years old, and I shared my mission with him and got him pretty excited, and he fairly quickly agreed to be my CTO. So upon getting myself a CTO, I promptly went to the office I was managing at the time and quit my job and told the owner of the company I was going to go and build an app that helped people to save money. So everyone thought I was pretty insane for doing that. So my girlfriend and I sort of scraped together what money we had, sold my car, sold my motorcycle, sold anything that wasn't bolted down, and used that money to keep food on the table while we went about our mission of trying to create an app. We managed to hack together an MVP, and we launched with our product in Australia and the US around about 12 months ago with the function of roundups to cryptocurrency, to Bitcoin. With what little money we had left, we spent a couple of $1,000s on marketing, and we managed to onboard around 1,000 users in the first month, which was super exciting. Although we didn't have a lot of money in the bank, what we did manage to do was to leverage that initial traction into some conversations with investors. And earlier this year, we managed to secure $1 million in seed funding from a tech investor based out of China. So we've taken that money and we've expanded our little team, as you'll see here from one of the pictures of our recent press releases. And there's 3 degrees, a master's, and a doctorate in that picture, none of which belong to me. The team's working on a problem which I think can be most easily summarized in this one sentence. Managing personal finance is harder than it needs to be. How do we know that that's the case? Well, the numbers are pretty brutal when you really start to scratch the surface. Around a third of Americans have absolutely no money in the bank. They're living week to week, paycheck to paycheck. And possibly even more scary is that 2/3 of Americans have less than $1,000 in cash reserves. So these are people with no cash, no savings, and more importantly, no peace of mind. Our solution to this problem? Simplify. Our mission is to try and help our users improve their financial well-being, and we do that in 3 ways. The first is to automate the savings and investment process. We offer a multitude of different options, including transaction roundups, additional savings, and also an automated user-based goal setting. We also, as we build out our development roadmap, aim to give our users the ability to swap and to choose the most appropriate place to put their money at any given time. And the last mechanism is to save again. It's that important, we've included it twice. But this type of saving is how we intend to monetize the app, by gathering and understanding the transactional information that we see from our users on a daily basis, to understand what they're buying, when they're buying it, and how much they're spending, and to leverage our user base in order to get them discounts on products and services that they're already buying. One of our biggest competitive advantages and main point of difference in what is otherwise a fairly crowded and competitive space is our ability to move between different financial instruments. And it's a competitive advantage that our main rivals will find very hard to replicate because they often only work in one vertical. But this gives us the ability to be a companion with our users along their financial journey and to offer them the opportunity to make a prudent financial decision as to where their money goes, despite their life circumstances quite likely changing along the way. Our development roadmap shows the timing of us continuing to build out those extra features, but I'll skip over this and get to some of the more fun stuff we've actually been doing this year. The picture in the bottom left is us on a trip to Shenzhen in China to close out our investment negotiations earlier in the year. We actually came to the US in May and pitched at the Inside Outside Innovation Summit in Lincoln, Nebraska, where we were awarded a $25,000 grant from Launch LNK to contribute towards our aspirations of establishing our office here in the US. And even more exciting is our journey here to KC. So a couple of months ago, we were accepted into the very first cohort of the Fountain City FinTech Accelerator. Shout out to the guys down here. And that's allowed us to form a deep partnership with NBKC Bank, which is one of the most innovative digital banks in the US, and they're based right here in Kansas City as well. We recently relaunched the app only at the beginning of this month, and we're currently onboarding 50 users a day, and that's steadily climbing. We really appreciate the ability to come here and share our journey with you all. It's been an amazing experience so far, spending time here in KC. And on a final note, there's probably a couple of things that we could use your help with in the community. The first, I think we've probably well covered off with the guys from Social Apex, which is that we really want to talk to some digital marketing ninjas. And they've got me fairly convinced at this point that we need to have a chat later. Secondly, if you are or you can connect us with not-for-profits, we're currently having some discovery sessions with not-for-profits about a SaaS model offering, a white label service that we intend to offer fairly soon. And last but not least, if you are or you know of any VCs that you feel would add value to our business, we are going to open a funding round in Q1 next year, and we'd love to connect and at least start a dialogue with suitable people so that we can invite the right people to participate in that round when we do open it up. That's all from me, and thank you very much for allowing me to share our journey.
Thank you, Tim, for that very nice presentation. I do have a couple of questions. I'll just ask one though. So my question goes to where you were talking about the 1/3 and the 2/3 that don't have savings or they have less than $1,000 in their bank account. How exactly are you reaching those people who may have a lack of funding or a lack of knowledge on how to achieve this?
Well, one of the first things that we came to understand by looking at other participants in the market and the feedback that they were getting from their users was the cost of accessing the apps to start with. And when you're dealing with very small amounts of money, a $1 or a $2 subscription fee per month can really start to eat into the overall idea, the benefits. So We've committed to offering the app for free. We don't charge anything to download it, we don't charge anything to use it, and we don't charge anything to move the money around. So that was probably the first thing that we could really do to try and fulfill the real outcome we're trying to achieve. The second is something that we're, I suppose, experimenting with now that we're fresh into our relaunch, which is the most efficient and sensible ways to reach the kind of people that will benefit the most. So we use digital marketing channels, we'll use influencer marketing, and you know, the guys from Social Apex will probably be exactly the right kind of people. Not that I like to admit it, but I'm old enough to be a little bit detached from probably the best way to reach millennials. And I think that they're the generation that has probably been not overlooked, but robbed of a lot of opportunities to succeed financially, and they tend to be the most readily adopting of our product as well. So.
Very good. Yeah, as Americans, we certainly need more opportunities to save and put money away. So, can you talk a little bit more about the revenue model? So it sounds like it's kind of along the lines of Mint, where the basics are free, and then they'll try to, based on your usage and your profile, then offer you other goods and services.
Yeah, look, we're not reinventing the wheel. In a lot of ways, our statement there of simplify really embodies exactly what we're trying to do. If you don't have the discipline, or you don't have the time, or you don't have the financial literacy to save, what's the easiest path to being able to improve that? But at the same time, when we're dealing with our users that are transferring and saving or investing quite small amounts of money, it's quite a challenge to provide a big value proposition if you need to make that money perform in some way, like a traditional investment. 3 or 4 or 5% return on a couple of $100s a year is small but not significant impact. It's much easier for us to understand where our users are spending the other $20,000 that they need to exist, and to try and cut hundreds or even thousands of dollars out of that. So it's like a Groupon style mentality, saying, well, if we can approach companies that are selling particular products, and we've got 10 or 20 or 30,000 people that will take that service, we can leverage that into a discount. The advertiser sells more product, we can make a small revenue for every offer that's taken up, and our users can save money from their day-to-day financial lives.
Got it. And I guess as a follow-up on that, so what do you have sort of a milestone you need to get to for a user base to make that attractive?
Yeah, for the likelihood of the investment that's required from us as a company to have the right people managing that part of our platform, probably 40 to 50,000 users would be a practical point for us to start monetization. With the money that we've raised, we have a runway that will see us through to that point and beyond. And there are a lot of platforms now that enable us to have a middle ground there. So rather than having a dedicated team that would be sourcing and implementing those campaigns, we can plug into other platforms that sort of manage a lot of that, like AdMob through Google or something like that. So we may be able to implement that strategy a little earlier than 40 or 50,000 users.
Okay, so I noticed that you said the app will be free. I'm always curious to know how exactly are you going to make revenue off of that, and then kind of what is the time frame that you have for your customers? Like, are you just helping them reach particular projects, or are you wanting them to be long-term, like lifelong customers? Like, what's your outlook for that?
I mean, look, the nirvana for any business is lifelong customers. It's extremely front-end heavy as far as cost to get a new person on the platform, and the longer they stay, the better that is for us as a business. By us offering multiple different verticals and different financial instruments, what we hope to do is build a relationship with our users that helps to get them back on track, and then open up a range of other things financially that they may have not been able to do had it not been for that initial action. So trying to encourage people to invest is largely fruitless if they have no emergency savings, if they get an unexpected expense of $400 and it completely derails their home finances. What we've noticed even just in the last 3 to 4 weeks is that the users that are coming on board now by and large, setting the app up with a savings target that's 1 to 2 years from now. So they're coming on board with, in the app world, a fairly long-term vision in mind straight away. And we hope to see them through that journey and beyond.
Good morning. So I'm not a millennial, and I have a traditional 401k and a financial advisor. Why would I want to use your app, and how would you describe your primary target market?
It's an interesting question. So we have an advantage and a disadvantage in one regard, that our app is a financial accessory, but by being that, it can be used for a lot of different things. Because of the industry and my career, one of my original thoughts for the app was to attach it to mortgages and enable a fairly inobtrusive way to make extra repayments off capital, which for a large debt over a long period of time, as you'll be aware, will save tens of thousands of dollars and years off the back end. Also supplementing in Australia superannuation, but here 401k. There's a lot more awareness, I think, in the millennial generation that they need to get ahead of that game, that welfare is useless and or probably off the table by the time they'll need it. For us, we're trying to hone down on the most accepting market of what we do and what use case that we can use to leverage growth. And oddly enough, one of the main and most popular use cases that we get at the moment is to save for a vacation. In the interviews we've done with our early users, despite the fact that they understand the prudent thing to do would be to pay the credit card down by another couple of $1,000 or to put an extra $1,000 in the 401k, they also understand the value of experiences and in keeping themselves sane humans while they go back to the rat race next year and continue to try and pay those debts down. And so our initial marketing will probably be highly targeted towards helping people achieve the experience side of things. And again, to just put a simple and effective tool in their hands that can be used for whatever their highest priority is at the time.
Okay, so my question is really about the inception of the project from like a CTO level. So you needed technology, but you weren't a technology guy. Can you explain, and I imagine there are a lot of people kind of like that in this crowd and really all over the place. Can you explain a bit of the strategy you went, because I know you found it in your friend, but say you didn't just look there. What was kind of the emotion and the decision point behind that? And I guess what did it sort of feel like when you were kind of on the right track to find that CTO role?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially for the younger entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs here. What really happened for me was the realization of what makes me tick, first of all. I mean, it was understanding that whether it's a finance industry, a real estate industry, a customer service industry, there's probably some component of what you do that gets you out of bed every morning. And for me, that realization was helping people. So when I started in the industry, I was working one-on-one with clients as a mortgage broker. I started my own company and started leveraging my time more to be able to help more people at once. I started speaking at events where I could leverage my time even more and help 100 people in an hour instead of one. So when I had the idea, I think what really happened from a personal perspective was that the mission was more important than the details. And so I started watching YouTube videos. I watched by far the best resource I found was a How to Start a Startup series on YouTube by Y Combinator. Basically just went into sponge mode for months and went, there is so much I don't know. The best way to try and rectify that is just taking any and all information, speak to whoever I could, good feedback, bad feedback, people telling you the idea's stupid, won't work, telling you all the reasons why. But the mission overrode that, and I went, well, at the end of the day, I don't really care. I'm going to find a way to do it. I was lucky in the sense that I reconnected with my friend who I've known for a long time. One of the biggest mistakes I've made in my business career is getting involved with the wrong partners in a business sense. And that was someone that I'd known, that I trust, and that's proven to be the biggest asset for our company. He's a fantastic, massively hard worker, never says no to anything, and if there's anything that he needs to do he doesn't know how to do, he'll just go and play it. So probably the lesson I took away from that was if you start with the end in mind, if you start with the mission, it's not even a question of you finding the right people. I think if you're passionate about what you want to do, the right people will find you.
Since there's no one in line, I'm going to ask a few questions. First question is for the audience. If you've downloaded the app, we could probably double user growth for you guys in a day, just in this room. So, yeah, let's do that. Everybody get out your phones. Have you thought about the discounts and saving being like one thing, like save an extra $1 this month and then you get a half price 12-pack of Bud Light at the end of the month, sponsored by Bud Light? And then the second one, and the last question is, so there's a lot of other people doing this. There's, the biggest is probably Acorns. And Google wasn't the first and the only search tool, but they won. So do you, as a CEO and entrepreneur, and for all the entrepreneurs in the room, is there something that you're really focused on, like the team or the user experience or the marketing, or what is the core thing that you're trying to build a business around to win that war?
Probably the key thing, or the key principle that I would say that addresses why we're different, why we even need to exist, and how we intend to grow in a space that's extremely competitive, is that I feel like some of those companies have started with the cart before the horse. Acorns is a great example because it's probably one of the most recognised brands. But they operate in one vertical, and what they are is a fund manager that leverages technology to bring more business to their fund. Now, over the next couple of years, I'm pretty comfortable that you'll see a fairly decent reversal of the progress of the share markets. Now, the prudent financial decision for a lot of their users today might be to invest in that share market. But tomorrow that may not necessarily be the case. And as an Acorns user, if you start seeing 2 or 3% weekly declines in the stock market, where do you go? Somewhere else. And I feel like the idea of the micro savings has been well received. I mean, some of the biggest and fastest growing companies in the fintech space in the US have used that strategy to bring people on board. But they fail to understand that there's a disconnect between the type of person that would prioritize investing in an ETF versus the type of person that values the inobtrusiveness of saving loose change. You've got somebody that really needs to build a $500 to $1,000 emergency fund. There's 17 things on their list of financial priorities that don't involve anything to do with investing in shares. This is people that want to pay their bills. This is people that want to put bags in their children's backpacks when they need to start school next year. This is people that are unsure about financial challenges they might face. And share investing is simply not on their radar. So for us, the ability to operate in multiple verticals comes from the fact that we don't need to derive revenue from where the user ends up. We derive revenue by helping them save money in other ways. And that gives us a massive degree of flexibility. And it also gives us what might not seem obvious, but a degree of impartiality. So if the share market tanks and the property market, which tends to be a little bit counter-cyclical, comes good, what advice would Acorns give to their users about the prudent way to invest their money? They're certainly not going to tell them to take it out of the share market and put it in property. We want to be able to give people an accessory to their financial lives, regardless of the changes that happen along the way. And in order to do that, it means that we operate in multiple spaces, which Acorns will never be able to do.
All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Great job. We have one last question. You already touched on this a little bit, but what can we as a community do to help you?
Look, for us at the moment, I mean, the community's kind of done its thing in the Midwest, which has just been fantastically welcoming for us. We've been in KC for a couple of months. We've established a strong partnership here with NBKC, linking up with the right kind of partners, particularly in the not-for-profit space, and being able to open a dialogue with potential VCs to participate in our next round is probably the two things that are front of mind at the moment. So if anybody wants to come and have a chat or ask us any more questions afterwards, we'll be hanging around to do that.
All right, great job. Let's give them another round. All right, that's all we have for you guys. Thanks. See you next week. There's also free co-working across from our friends at FlexPod, so take advantage.